It is 7:13 a.m. I just stayed up all night playing. I don't even know the name of the game. Legends of Runeterra, the new card game from Riot in the League of Legends universe, and I thought I'd give you my take on what this is all about from the perspective, of course, of a Hearthstone player.
Hey, buddy, watch this.
So yeah, if you didn't hear, Legends of Runeterra was announced last night, still sort of today for me, but it was announced and it became playable like 30 minutes later. Apparently some streamers, Disguised Toast, Crypt, Trump, some of the really big names have been playing it in a closed alpha for a couple months. But I was able to talk to Riot and get my account unlocked, streamer privilege, etc. So I've basically been playing it since like 10 o'clock last night, so we're about 9 hours in at this point, and I gotta say, it's fun. I'm actually really surprised how much I've been enjoying it. Rarely do games keep me up all night playing them. It happened with Auto Chess. It certainly happened with Hearthstone long ago. There's been a handful of games in between, but I really do see a lot of potential in this one. So I wanted to talk about some of the elements that I like, a handful of things maybe that weren't so great, but essentially just breaking down all the different stuff about Legends of Runeterra that I think you might be interested in knowing. So first things first, and I think I probably already said this because I'm so sleepy, I don't know what's going on anymore, but the game is actually really fun. I've played a ton of card games and rarely do they like get that hook in me. Like, yeah, they have cool mechanics and great card design, but they kind of miss on the extra stuff, like the feel, the sound effects, the polish, the animations. Like the animations in Runeterra are insanely cool. Fantastic production values across the board. So it just looks good. There's emotes, there's character voice lines, like everything is right. So it just feels nice when you play it, and that amps up the fun. So you've got great mechanics, cool designs, combined with a visual and audio presentation to complement it. Very few things have gotten that right in my experience in the card game space, but it feels like this one has. And that's really not a huge surprise. Of course, Riot has made one of the most enjoyable video games ever, according to a lot of people, even though I'm not a League guy myself. Clearly, they know how to make games that are fun. So let's also talk about the depth. I think there is a substantial amount of depth here compared to a handful of other card games. Now, it's not quite at that Magic the Gathering level, but it is significantly more deep than Hearthstone, I would say, because there are things like assigning blockers, something from the Magic world perhaps, but also there's things like mana management that's a little bit more complex. There are a lot of keywords already, and some of those keywords are rather intricate. There are different card types, so of course there's spells and units or minions, but also like champion units, and those champion units turn into spells in certain cases if you have a second champion unit in hand. And you don't need to know any of this, but essentially I'm saying there's actually a lot of stuff going on, a lot of decision points in every single turn and every single round, which so far has felt really rewarding. Like, it's good to know that I'm having an influence over the game. I will say it could be intimidating to some people if you like a little bit more simplicity, things that are a tad easier to parse, less of those decision points because you don't want to stress out. That could be a problem. Maybe it would be a little too deep, but I still think it felt really accessible. After going through the tutorial, just reading a handful of cards, over time, felt like I had a pretty good grasp of things like the first hour or two, and certainly a lot of card games haven't felt that way. So to me, it feels like the exact right amount of depth, and there's still a limit to the number of things on screen. Like, I know when I played Magic the Gathering Arena, sometimes there's like 40 things on screen, and I would have no idea what's going on because I couldn't parse it all at once. Like, can't read 10 different cards I'm unfamiliar with. There's really a max of, I guess, like 12 units on the screen at any given time in Runeterra, so it all feels manageable, but still gives you some room to explore. So the next big thing I want to talk about is the monetization model for Runeterra, which seems to be taking a big divergence from other card games that rely on booster packs, and instead it just has like a direct purchase economy where you don't have to risk opening a ton of stuff you don't want. You can just spend your currency and premium currency to get exactly the cards that you're looking for without losing a lot of like dust efficiency, for instance, in Hearthstone, where you disenchant a card and lose like a fourth or 3/4 of its value in return. Instead, everything is just designed to be purchasable right off the bat, and there are some other kind of paths towards opening cards of a certain set or class or region that you want to find. So it seems like a model that is much more player friendly. It feels like there's a lot of rewards already bundled into the game too. I'm sure that those numbers are not final yet, so you know, stay tuned, I guess. Make sure that's still true when this game finally releases. But it feels like free-to-play is 100% going to be an option. They kind of suggested free-to-play players will have all of the things they need to do it. And if you want to get a head start, purchasing seems like it's going to be more painless than usual as well. So maybe the first card game to really crack a great monetization model. So another element I want to discuss is controls and UI. I think this is one place Runeterra suffers a little. So from a control standpoint, there were some clunky things happening. Just even the way you drag cards into play from your hand feels weird because you move them into the battlefield, kind of skipping over your tray, and you should go to the tray instead of the battlefield. It's just kind of non-intuitive in a couple cases. Like, you get the hang of it really quick, but it just doesn't feel refined, I guess. And then some UI elements too. I don't love all of the way the cards change shape, so when they're hitting the battlefield, they get wider if there's more space. It just feels a little strange and looks a little odd to me. Maybe that's just personal preference or taste. But both in the menu and in game, some UI elements feel clumsy. For instance, the cards that are in your hand, you can only see the very top portion of the card. You have to hover over them to get them to expand, but the card names aren't at the top of the card frame. So it's a little bit weird going back and forth and just popping cards up all the time. So just some things just feel like they could take another pass on UI, and certainly they could. This is clearly very early in the development process still. So that's a small thing to keep in mind, but I'm sure we'll get better. So another really important thing I've noticed so far, and this one's going to win a lot of people over, the game seems very unreliant on randomness. I actually haven't really seen hardly any random effects. I read a couple of posts that said there are at least a few cards that include some randomness. I honestly haven't encountered one yet. Like, everything is targeted. Everything is predictable and by design, so that feels great. I know that randomness can be frustrating. It can also be fun sometimes too, right? So there's a little bit of a downside there. But for a skill-intensive game that you want to be competitive, you want to have predictable results, it feels like this is going to be exactly that. Even if there are a few random cards, I can tell you they are absolutely not a significant portion of the card pool. So it feels like skill, decision-making, planning, deck building are really going to be what influences your outcomes more than anything else. And then one final thing I want to talk about is just that the art in this game is freaking amazing. All of the unit cards look incredible. There are a handful of spell cards that look more iconographic than like amazing high fantasy art, but the rest just look top notch. Like, any card in this game looks as good or better than like my favorite Hearthstone card arts, for instance. It is a little bit of a different style, a tad less cartoony, more realistic, maybe still, you know, kind of dramatic and exaggerated in a lot of ways, but still the color palette is a little muted more and a little edgier perhaps, or more adult in some cases. But it just looks great. Like, the rendering is just fantastic. Characters look cool. The posing, the effects, all of it just looks wonderful. So it's one of the most beautiful games in the menu that I've ever seen. Now, I don't think the game board is quite as eye-catching in some of the UI elements, and some of the components actually playing the game don't look as good to me. That's for sure. But the card art itself, absolutely outstanding. And then finally, one last thing, I guess. Maybe I already said finally. I don't know. I'm sleepy. But I can already tell that the community support for this game is going to be there. Sometimes you get into a new game, or a card game in particular, it's really resource driven, but there's not like community support. There's not like websites that are giving you card lists or deck lists. League of Legends clearly has a player base that is just incredibly devoted. Websites are already popping up like crazy. There are already like Twitch overlays. Like even Out of Cards, our favorite Hearthstone site lately, has an API plugin to Legends of Runeterra and has cards on the site. Like that's crazy that the support is already there. So it feels like this has this sort of community backup here to go the distance and become a reliable, trustworthy game for the next who knows how long, right? League of Legends has been very, very successful too. So basically, a lot of things are lining up here that give me way more confidence in this game than I expected. I'll be honest, I was pretty skeptical at first. And I've seen like the trend for TFT where it's kind of peaked and fallen really fast. I think this game has more potential to go long. And as much as it alarms me to say it, I think it is a threat to something like Hearthstone and certainly other card games as well. I mean, obviously we need more time. This is a very early, you know, closed beta. There's going to be another closed beta, and then a closed beta again, or maybe these are alphas. I don't know what they call anything anymore. But for right now, I'm seeing some signs that I don't know if it will supplant Hearthstone as the #1 digital card game, but could come close. It feels like it could. I want to hear what you guys have to say when you play it. Maybe you'll shoot that down. But in theory, it does a lot of things really, really well and better than pretty much any other challenger I've seen to the throne so far. And like I said at the beginning, it's fun. I really had a fun time playing it. I'm 9+ hours in, and frankly, I want to play more despite having to start a stream soon. We may play this instead of Hearthstone a little bit, may play some Hearthstone, I don't know, but the fact that it's up for debate is a really big deal. And if this game is actually very easy to play for free, that means there's not a lot of risk in trying it out and seeing if you like it better. Now, I don't think I'm ever quitting Hearthstone. Like, I love Hearthstone. Of course, that's what I do. But will I play both? Maybe? It's kind of feeling like it. That said, I'm curious what you guys think. Does the game look stupid to you? Does it look cool? Did you stay up playing it for 9 hours like me? Is it 7:30 a.m. where you are? I may never know. But leave your thoughts in the comments below. And, oh, for details on downloading this game, I don't know, look in the description or something. I'll have some links, whatever. It's hard to get right now, but it's possible. There's some stuff you can do to help get your chances to get into the beta or whatever. But I'll probably be making more videos comparing this more directly to Hearthstone in the near future. And probably stretching out some videos in the next few months as well. So just keep an eye out for that stuff if this intrigues you at all, and this looks like a game that you might want to play it. That said, as always, thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, game on.